Welcome back to Planet Doug. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sticking with my recent trend that I've developed of visiting places that have always caught my eye, and yet I've never gotten around to visiting them. So far I've been to the Lakeshore Grill restaurant, a restaurant I kept saying to myself, I really should go there someday, and I just never got around to it. And then I went to the Biomedical Museum, another place that I've known about for a long time, and kept telling myself, I'm going to go there someday, and then I never got around to it. And I'm adding one more to my list today, and that is, finally, the Textile Museum. And it's located kind of kitty corner from the Independence Square. You see Independence Square all around me. And that fascinating building right there with the minarets and the red and white, similar style, of course, to the main building here, quite famous. That is the Textile Museum. And I've seen it a million times, it feels like, and I've never gotten around to checking it out. And today is finally the day. There's always a lot going on, whatever time of day it is here at Independence Square. You've got Mike's Bikes over there, that group of tourists in the orange safety vests. They're all on rented bicycles from Mike Bikes, and they take them out on tours around the city. And I've noticed a whole bunch of people out here, or there were more earlier, but they had tripods with cameras and smartphones shooting video. And I noticed two women doing that would look like TikTok dances. And when I was walking along here, two men stopped me and asked if I'd mind doing a short interview with them. They were both from Malaysia, and I asked them if they were connected with some kind of organization, because there were so many people here shooting videos. I thought maybe it was like a club where they're learning how to shoot video, and they came out as a group. But he says, no, they're just doing it on their own for their own TikTok channel. So yeah, they asked me questions about what I like about Malaysia, and in particular Malaysian food. And I kind of stumbled through my answers because I don't know how to talk about food the way most people do, but I did my best to give them some answers, and I managed to sneak in a mention of nasi lemak, which always pleases people in Malaysia. So, and I do like nasi lemak, so I wasn't lying, and I have had it many times. Okay, let's head into the Textile Museum. I don't know very much about it. They have a very nice website, which is full of information. In fact, there's so much information on their website, information about textiles, about weaving, so many photographs of their displays. You almost get a sense that you've already been there if you spend time on the website. But yeah, nothing beats going somewhere in person. As with most museums, half of the appeal to me is the building and the history, and this one fits in with all the historic buildings of Malaysia. I think the architect was a British architect, A.B. Hubback, if I remember right, and he's very well known. He was also the architect of the famous mosque, Masjid Jamak, was also designed by A.B. Hubback. There's the building towering above me, the National Textile Museum. I guess it's 2.5 stories high, and this building has a long history as a government building. It was the home of, like, I think the railroad government offices, banks. When you look up the history, they'd list so many different government departments that used to be housed here, and then it was sold or rented or given to the organization that eventually created the Textile Museum. And here are the hours, 9 o'clock until 5 every day. And it's a rare kind of place. I think it's open all the time. So other than even public holidays, it's open. I think there's 2 days a year that they close, and that's it. So you're pretty safe coming here. So I'm inside the museum now. This is the lobby area. The ticket window is right out there. And for foreign visitors to Malaysia, it's 5 ringgit per person. And they ask you what country you are from, so they make a record of that. So, yeah, so where are you from? I said, Canada. So that was very nice. And so, yeah, there are 4 or 5 galleries here. I think there are 4 main galleries, and then a 5th one, I think it contains like changeable exhibits, things like that. And from what I saw on their website, I think I already mentioned this, each gallery has a name, and the name has a connection to the theme of what's held inside that gallery, which I find quite interesting. So they don't have the the little feet on the floor to guide you, so you sort of find your own way. And the very first gallery, I think this would be the gallery to start with, is called the Budi Gallery, Pohon Budi Gallery, which is connected to the Bodhi tree, Bodhi tree, which is the tree of life. And the idea is that this is where the theater of life begins. Therefore, this gallery is all about the beginnings of textiles and weaving, basically the history of it. So that is the theme of the Pohon Budi Gallery. And when I was reading this here, this is the history of the building, and it mentioned, as I said, it was designed by a British architect, A.B. Hubback, and he designed the Masjid Jamek, the Jamek Mosque. And as I said, this building started off, I believe, as the headquarters for the Federated Malay States Railway in 1905. And then it housed the Selangor Public Works Department, and then it housed a central bank and an agriculture bank and urban development authority. So anyway, many government departments have been housed here. And then it became the Textile Museum. But in describing the building, they said that they added a glassed-in entrance. And of course, the front here is not, there's no glass there, that's just a normal part of the building. And the glass entrance that they're referring to, I believe, is back here. So I think this glassed-in area was built and designed to be the entrance to the museum. I'm just guessing here because, I mean, you can't even go out this way. So they built this. There's the one of the elevators there. So it's, yeah, a beautiful glassed-in area here. And I think it was meant to be the main entrance. And then if you come in through this entrance, then you naturally are pointed towards the Budi Gallery here. And this entrance is the one that starts you at the beginning. So there's a trick for you, a tip from Planet Doug. When you come to this museum, look for this door to go into the Pohon Budi Gallery. And I think this is where your visit to the museum would begin naturally, because it's right here that you get the description of what's in the gallery, and it talks about, the evolution of textiles in Malaysia. And I think it focuses a lot on the technology, like weaving and looms, things like that. So textile, here it is, right, textile making technology. And I say that this is the beginning of the gallery because the very first thing you see is clothing made out of bark. So the bark of a tree. So this would likely be the very first type of clothing that human beings would have adorned themselves with. Leaves and bark, things like that. And then here we see another example of like a vest made out of tree bark. And this is quite interesting here. They're talking about making thread and fiber out of pineapples. And I saw that process. It was even demonstrated when I went to the pineapple farm in Port Dickson. So I actually already knew all about this. So that's quite interesting. It's almost like hemp. So you can make an actual thread out of pineapples, which is really interesting. You can see here you get the pineapple leaves, and inside the leaf there's a series of these little threads, and then you can peel them away, and then of course you weave them together to make larger and larger threads. So again, this is the history of textiles, going from tree bark, tree leaves, and then pineapple leaves, and then you can move on to more advanced sort of technology like batik and looms. So like right here, for example, it feels like there's a huge piece of history missing, right? How do you go from tree bark to this loom? I mean, it's so complex and so technologically advanced. In a million years, I would never think of, like, how do you make something like this? How do you come up with that idea? But yeah, here's the Malay frame loom, and even the vocabulary, all the vocabulary, each piece has a specific design and a name. It's quite fascinating to read through. And then here's another loom. But something that jumped out at me about the museum overall is the quality of the displays, even down to the mannequins. Each gallery has a different style of mannequin, and no expense was spared in terms of designing them. And as we go through the gallery, I'll show you what I mean. So yeah, here you have all the machines used to make threads, and then once you have the threads, then you can start combining the threads into cloth using all of these looming techniques. And then as you exit the gallery, then you come across displays about taking the fabric and making it colorful and elaborate. So now this is all of the batik technology. It's quite fascinating. And again, this is all really beyond me. But again, you can see the mannequin here, very specific and appropriate. There's a lot of information here about the ways they get the different colors from plants and different sources to get all the bright colors for batik. And I read through all this already, but very elaborate, the number of stages involved to create cloth like this. It's really quite interesting. So this one is the Pelangi Gallery, and I believe Pelangi means rainbow. So a rainbow, strips of light that come together. So this gallery focuses on the colors and the combination of colors in the textiles. Yeah, the batik of Malaysia. And I mentioned the variety of mannequins used to display the clothing. Here's another good example. These are quite dramatic. I love the way they look and how they set off the clothing. One trick I was thinking that this museum is missing is that they could sell things like this. I mean, I was looking at this shirt and I was thinking, wow, I'd love to have that shirt myself. And if they had them, well, I'm sure they'd be extremely expensive, so I don't think I would buy one, but it feels like they could have a store where you could actually buy some of these shirts. I do like the style of clothing in Malaysia for men. Has almost a vintage feeling. I could see Kramer from Seinfeld wearing a shirt like this. So this exhibit there is from Sabah, and then this room is from Sarawak. And then they also talk about the Nyonya Chinese textiles. Also very elaborate, very beautiful, very colorful. while I went through the museum, I was also sort of smiling to myself at the vast gulf between my wardrobe and what I see around me, because, I mean, can you imagine having a life? I mean, I think this is a wedding garment, so you wouldn't be wearing that every day, but I can't imagine living a life where you wear such beautiful clothing. When it comes to my wardrobe, I wake up in the morning and the one decision I have to make is long pants or shorts. They look exactly the same, or a red t-shirt or a blue t-shirt. And if I'm feeling really crazy, I can put on my orange shirt with the buttons, and then that's my entire wardrobe. So everything in this museum just puts me to shame. And then finally, of course, with the sari, this gallery also talks about Indian textiles. Those are the two galleries on the main floor, the Budi Gallery and then the Rainbow Gallery here. And then there is an elevator to take you up to the second floor, but they have a nice wide stairway to go up here. It really shows the building in a nice light. Once you get here to the wide stairway, you get to this corner, you can turn around and take it all in. Look at that. A.H. Hubback, that's his design. In this gallery on the right is the Ratna Sari Gallery, which focuses on adornments. So diamond, gold, jewels, anything to take the textile and the human body and adorn it with all kinds of jewelry. Yeah, it's a beautiful gallery. And something that jumped out at me here, as I mentioned, is the mannequins. The ones here on the left. Because each one, as far as I can tell, is unique. Different height, each has its own height, a different face on each one. So they really come across as real people. Each one has a distinct look to them, and all the various headdresses, jewelry, necklaces, all on display on these mannequins. It's really quite impressive. You have that odd feeling when you get close to them that they're real and they could suddenly start talking to you. These in particular, because as I said, they look so real, and each one looks like a separate person. And there is a lot in this exhibit that jumped out at me. I don't think I could even cover it all, but in general, I've always liked the kris, the swords that have become decorations for men. They are weapons, of course, but they don't play that role anymore. And then they're used as an adornment for men as part of their outfit, the kris. Some beautiful examples here. I noticed this one in particular. It looks like almost like ivory carvings on it. Yeah, beautifully done. Yeah, these made an impression on me. Anklets. Not a common decoration in the West, but if you spend any time in India, countries like that, you suddenly get accustomed to seeing anklets. Yeah, they're really quite attractive when you wear them. And I noticed one item here that jumped out at me. Very unusual, having the long, thin chains, the three of them connecting, and then a spider right in the middle. And I thought, whoa, that's unusual. So I had to look it up. And then this is number 10, a set of chained brooches in the shape of a spider and 2 stars, and worn by Nonya during mourning period. Straight settlements, circa 1930s. So the fact that this was worn during mourning periods, it sort of makes the spider make more sense. I really like these ones here, 4, 5, and 7, or 1, 2, all of these ones here, because they're brooches but they're meant as a set of 3. So you would wear, like number 7, that row of 3 of them, those are all meant to be worn together. It's quite interesting. And then the other brooches here, 3 of them, but they're all put together by sets of 3 chains. Very unusual design, but very beautiful. I like these a lot. Over there on the far wall is a set of headwear, hats, basically, and shoes over there, and a collection of hairpins. Very elaborate, very interesting. But what jumped out at me are these over here, headgear, ceremonial headgear. And not surprisingly, they come from, like these ones over here, number 1 is from Sarawak, worn by Iban maidens, it says. And number 2 from Sabah, the Lotud women. And then number 3 over here, also from Sabah, Bajau and Iranum women. Beautiful pieces. These items also jumped out at me. Not sure I remember where they're from. Yeah, Sabah and Sarawak. But they're adornments, belts made to go around the hips. And yeah, quite sensual items, I would say. And the coins linked together like that. Designed to go around the hips. Can you imagine wearing that? That would be so much fun with the coins clinking together. That's also from Sarawak. So yeah, really interesting gallery. Very nicely laid out. And the highlight for me were the mannequins over there. And across the stairway here is the last gallery. And this one was a little bit confusing to me. I didn't quite get the theme or the ideas behind it, to be honest. But this is the Teluk Berantai Gallery, which means apparently interlocking bays. And it is a motif in the making of Malay songket. And I read that a couple of times, and I didn't quite put it together in my head what it was about. But I think it has something to do with embroidering with gold, things like that. But yeah, Malay textiles here. And just in general, as I was reading up in this gallery, it seemed to refer a lot to this sort of embroidery, very fancy embroidery, but using gold and things like that. So that could be what songket means, but I'm not entirely sure. But there's a lot of things like wall hangings and pillows, slippers, so not necessarily textiles for clothing, but for other, like rugs over here, things like that. Beautiful, elaborate textiles and outfits here. And this reminded me of I went to visit another textile museum near a university. I went onto the university grounds, and I think they were talking about some of these styles as being reserved for royalty in Malaysia. And I don't know all the fine distinctions between all of these, but we've got songket cloth, limar cloth, tenun, and Kelingkan embroidery. And then more over here, tekatan, again, gold embroidery. And the Malay heritage costume. Yeah, also an interesting gallery. Took me a while to figure out what the theme was and how it all came together, but I think I eventually started to get the idea. So that was a brief walking tour through the galleries, and then up here on the second floor, there's a door. I asked the guard, is it okay to go out here? He says, yeah, it's open to the public. So you can come out here onto this balcony, very wide balcony overlooking Independence Square. Nice view. Leaving the Textile Museum. That's the building right beside me over there. Yeah, really nice. Highly recommended, especially when you combine the whole experience as a package, not just the textiles and the history and all of that, but you also get to come to this neighborhood, this historic district by Independence Square, and you have the beautiful building that the museum is housed in. I mean, this building alone is an attraction. So even if you're not that excited about textiles, well, you have this historic building that you can enjoy. And on top of that, you have the other exhibits because, to be honest, my favorite gallery in there was the one with all the jewelry. I found the jewelry perhaps more interesting than the textiles. Yeah, just there's a lot of variety in the jewelry. So it's not a museum of only textiles. It also has a display of jewelry, things like that. So there's more than you would think here. All right. So in keeping with the theme of going places that have caught my eye over the months and years, and yet I've never actually checked them out, now I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. Iced coffee, probably. Because right here is the Masjid Jamek, the mosque is right here, the River of Life project here, the Klang River. And as part of this tourism district, there's a riverside coffee shop right here. And I've seen it a million times. Sometimes it's been closed, other times it's been open. But today, finally, if it is open, I'm going to act on the impulse and pop inside to get a cup of coffee, or pop outside. I think it's outdoor seating. It's not an indoor cafe. You get a lot of tour groups come here because, for obvious reasons, the scenic nature of this setting right here, the River of Life project, with all of the murals on the buildings over there, Masjid Jamek. And right here is what I've been talking about, Makan.Buzz. So I'm finally going to be a good tourist and get myself an iced coffee or something. Maybe go crazy and get a cheesecake. Who knows? So here I am at the Makan.Buzz, and the friendliness of the staff, the eagerness is exactly as advertised. Two guys jumped up when they saw me approaching and offered to seat me and got me a menu. So yes, very good service, which I really appreciate that. I'm all about customer service. And so I've got the menu here. And this is the seating outdoors, really nice. They got a little bit of music playing, but I don't think it'll bother my video. And then right across, you've got a front row seat of the beautiful murals across the way. A little bit of the fog machine operating down there in the Klang River. Right beside is like a place where you can get a sketch made of yourself. But yeah, so I think we're just dealing with, your standard coffees and teas and desserts and QR code. I wonder if you can order with a QR code. I'm not sure. Let's see. Oh, they even have some food. Food menu, fish and chips, chicken chop, lasagna. And I saw a display of ice cream as well. I think you can get durian ice cream here. Musang King durian ice cream. All right, so I'm just going to order something and I'll check back in. I find that I am in a surprisingly good, surprisingly cheerful, surprisingly energetic mood this morning. I can't tell you why. I just sort of woke up that way. Yeah. So anyway, I just went a little bit crazy with the ordering, did things I wouldn't normally do. So for example, I went for their coconut ice coffee. I was just going to get the latte because I do really love latte. I love milk. So milk coffee is my jam, as they say. But hey, we're doing something different now, so look at that. Very cool. You got the coffee and then the coconut water. Let's try some of this coconut water before we mix it all up together. See what the coconut tastes like. Yeah, it's nice. Coconut. Lightly flavored coconut. And then if you mix it all together, mix the coconut up with the coffee at the top. Yeah, I like that presentation. It was very satisfying to see it like that. It was a 12 ringgit, I believe, for this. That's nice. Yeah, like you got that coffee bite mixed in with the coconut. Yeah. If out of pure whatever makes me happiest, I would still go for the iced latte, like a milky latte. I would like that better, but in terms of just doing something different, that's pretty nice. And for some crazy reason, I went for a brownie. I guess when you're eating at a special place like this, you got to do something special. So, and they heated it up, chocolate brownie with some chocolate on top, and they heated it up for me. Don't think I'll have a great deal of commentary about the brownie, but we'll see what's going on here. Oh, nice and soft. Planet Doug approved. When I get a brownie like this, I want it to be chocolate, like just chocolate all the way down. Chocolate on top, chocolate in the middle, just chocolate everywhere, and very smooth and full of all chocolate. And the fact that they heated it up makes it really nice. So I'm just going to hang out here, hang out with all my fellow tourists.